afternoon, and welcome to another episode of PharSide Pholios. Thank you for joining us as we highlight authors who are making moves in the month of May with a special series of author interviews. I'm your host, Monica Leek, managing editor for the PharSide Co-Ed Book Club. So we're looking forward to our time together and hope you're excited. So share, like, tag somebody in this post, and share this interview out because we're so excited to have with us today as our special guest, Adriana Rozo-Angulo, who is the Director of Operations at Menasha, and she is also the president of Moss Connections, a business consultancy firm she co-founded in 2011. Adriana is a Lean Six Sigma Black Belt professional and holds several certifications in the manufacturing and medical device industry. She is the New Jersey hub leader for the Hispanic Star and the New Jersey ambassador for SHE, the Society of Hispanas Emprendedoras, European organization. She's a member of the advisory board of Seton Hall University for the Transformative Leadership in Disruptive Times Executive Certificate Program. Adriana is also a certified speaker and co-author of the book Hispanic Star Rising, and author of the book that we're discussing today, The Buoyant Business. So welcome to the PharSide, Adriana Rozo-Angulo.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you so much for this invitation. I really appreciate it. It's going to be my first podcast.
Well, we're so excited to have you, and we're just going to dive right into our questions and talking about your book. So what was the motivation behind writing The Buoyant Business? Because that idea, that concept of buoyant stood out to me in the title, The Buoyant Business, How Simplicity Can Keep Your Organization Afloat in Today's Stormy Economy.
So I have the idea of writing a book for many years, but you always have excuses. I don't have time. I mean, you name it. With the pandemic, I don't have to travel anymore. So I, even though that I was working and I'm working a lot, but I have the time that I used to be traveling, right? So what drive me to write this book was my own need for a simple guide of doing my job. Like a simple place. I love simplicity. I always look for efficiencies and the easiest way to do things. So I never found something like that. So it was my own necessity to have a collective main aspects of the business in a really simple way, concepts and information that I work with every day in my professional life. So I believe that was my main motivation to write this book.
So you spoke about the pandemic, given the impact that it's had on, large corporations as well as, small mom and pop businesses. Why do you think this, why was this the book you chose to write? And what do you feel the impact will be on the readers, who pick it up?
Because times have been changing, right? And now more than ever, the business need to be agile and flexible. Before, we used to create strategies and plans that are a long time or medium term. Now everything changed. Now, I mean, the long time is maybe a month. So business are required to be more agile and more flexible. So having processes that are simple, keep them that flexibility. So that was what I was looking with this. I believe that each process must be simple, simple enough to have the flexibility, but robust enough to work with the company and allow them to sustain the company in any change or disruption like we have last year.
In your first chapter, you talk about employee buy-in. So, what strategies can you recommend for leaders to enhance communicating their vision in order to improve that buy-in?
Okay, so yes, and in my first chapter, I talk about neuroscience
Mm-hmm.
because it has changed a lot. It's been advanced a lot from what we believe that it was our brains in the last couple of decades. So marketing has been using that for a long time, and I believe that I started with that. But now the new tools that they have, it can be used for business as well. It can be used for if we know how our brain react, and
Mm-hmm.
especially to change, for example, in this case, we can use those tools. We can create strategies that minimize the impact that change has on individuals. Not everybody likes change. I will say that it's bigger the percentage of people that doesn't like change and is affected by the change, and it's really defensive when we have a change.
Mm-hmm.
So using these tools like effective communication, like is explain why the change, explain the benefits, explain all the aspects of the change. That will be one of the points. The other one will be breaking into phases because it's less frightening to have it in small phases than when you have this huge project and everybody is like, oh my God, what I'm going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is the third point I will say that is involve all the people at all levels.
Mm-hmm.
Because many times we in the past, I know that was a common practice is okay, the chain starts in the top and goes to the medium level, and but the people in the bottom of the chain, it doesn't get involved, and they are the ones that have the practical information that we need for that. So definitely involve the people at all levels. Also give them the sense of belonging. So
Mm-hmm.
it's easier to react when there's something that I believe and that okay, I'm part of that when somebody tells you have to do this.
And I think that's, you said something key in making that communication clear and considering those who are on the ground at the ground level doing the work and implementing the strategies of change, they have to feel a part of it,
Correct.
so it just can't be this is what it is and you do this.
It's human nature, right?
Yeah.
If you believe in something, you are more willing to participate than when you just told me you have to do it and I don't even know why.
Yeah. And you spoke, of course, about the whole kind of the science behind the mind, the science of the mind, and how we adapt to change in those processes. And if we have these aspects, neurologically, when it comes to change, then the way that we process it, there has to be a way that's similar or simple to coincide
Yeah.
with how our mind processes.
Yeah,
So,
and that's how we can use neuroscience tools for that.
mhm.
It's not only for marketing.
and, and then you talk about, give us the 5 W's of change in the change process. What are those 5 W's and what happens if we don't answer any of those questions?
It's not that it's something bad is going to happen, but answering those questions can help us discover how much we can simplify the process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So each of the W's has its purpose on one side to answer one of the parts that we or to identify how the process is. So we can identify if it's obsolete, if it's not applicable, and that's what is important to trying to answer the 5, right? So the why is why the process is needed, right? A specific process. So why it's needed. If we understand, then we can evaluate if we are really doing what we need to do, or maybe it's just something that we keep because it has been there forever. The who, the who, I believe, is a difficult question, because many times we believe that the who is the person that is doing the task. But when we're writing a process, that process is not for the person that do the task, because they already know it. That process should be for the new people, so we were able to train it properly, but also to the, let's say, upper management, or to the outsider, that it can have an understanding of that process. So that is one of the topics that people sometimes don't realize, and make it either too simplistic that is not robust enough, or too complicated. So it has to be simple enough for any person to understand that specific process. Then when the when. So this one is another one that it depends on. It can be complicated, right? Because sometimes we have deceptions of the rule.
Mm-hmm.
So when we have that exception of the rule, we need to be able to identify those exceptions and never put it as part of the process, because then you end complicating everything, and then it's when you stop the flexibility when it changes or anything like that. So I always suggest to put it as a side document or appendix, or something that it doesn't like tie your hands, and you can actually react easily when changes happen. And then the where. So again, we cannot generalize. The word has to be specific, again, to give us the flexibility to react to any change. And I think that companies and small business are like learn this during the pandemic, because even in our worst nightmares, we never imagined something like that. So I don't think that everybody was prepared. I don't think that anybody was prepared for this. So now simplify those processes will definitely help the companies to react to any type of disruption.
So while like disruptions, like our current pandemic, um, are kind of have us in this space, and we're experiencing change in so many in our our structures, and having to think of how we conduct business, and getting back into a position where the world is opening up. So we may get back to the face to face versus being virtual, or what, how are we going to, make sure our products and services, continue, and we're able to provide employment and all those kinds of pieces. How do leaders shift from, just being focused on the bottom line? Because I'm sure that, as, things were closed, and we were going into quarantine, that the first thing that came to mind, were the numbers, and what it meant for doors to be closed, and, what it meant for, our, the basic operations that we had in place. So how do leaders shift from just focusing on, the products and
Yes,
services, which are important, but including evaluating
of course.
those current processes, the processes that they have in place.
Yes. So to, and I understand. Of course, at this moment, people is more worry about the finance, how production is going to happen, how I'm going to open my business, how I'm going. And this is obviously what is in everybody's mind. However, to me, this will be a basic step, and I see it like a how difficult you want your life to be, or the life of your employees in this case, if you have employees. And I believe that you can apply that for your own life as well. So
Mm-hmm.
even though and it's when you have problems, the first thing that they told you is step out of the problem and think, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's the basic step. And in the book, I also use this analogy about math. And I remember when we have to study fractions and we need to take it to the lowest terms. And we do it that way because it's easier to understand. So if we take the time to actually look at what we have and see how complicated, because of the other problems we still have. And so if we can simplify what is in our hands, what is in our control, I think that's why they need to focus on, and not focus, but give also time, some priority to simplify the process and everything, because this is something that you can control. This is something that you can do, while the other things you can't. So to me, it's basically this. If you can reduce the fraction to the lowest term, just do it, because everything else is going to be more complicated. So trying to work it out where you can do at that moment.
So thinking about those, the way you have your book structured, that you have tools within, you know,
Mm-hmm.
the chapters. Um, how can you? What are some of those tools that you'd recommend for small business owners versus large corporation? Or, because you talk about mapping processes and evaluating processes, um, would they be the same, for a small business versus a large corporation, or are there even simpler tools?
So I've been working in big corporations, but with Mass Connection, I also been helping a small business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe the process are the same, like
Mm-hmm.
the math is the same. Um, However, in my experience, it's easier with a small business because it doesn't have all the layers of complexity of approvals. And uh, in a small business, you can take a decision easier
Mm-hmm.
than in a large corporation. Not only because of those levels of approvals, but also because of the complexity. Like if I change something here, maybe it will affect, I don't know how many other facilities or things like that. So I believe that the tools, and yes, you mentioned, my idea with that book is to be actionable, that you can actually read. Here is the tool, implement it, and be doing it by steps. And I trying to make it how I wanted when I was working in those type of things. So having the tool, having the explanation, understand the why I'm doing it, and see how I can implement it. So I think that the tools are basically the same. It's just a different scale.
Okay. And you mentioned, of course, writing this book during this time of pandemic, because it's basically a pretty new release. So
Yes.
how would you describe your writing journey with this book?
Ah. Okay. So, as I mentioned, I have this book in my mind for a long time. Like, I believe that when I was little, I was always saying, or I was always believe the three things that that you should achieve in life, right? Like, is plant a tree, have a key, and write a book. So I did the other two. I always had like, I want to do this one. I want to write my book, and this is an idea that I have since seriously since I was a kid. Um, Obviously, at that time, I don't even know what I'm going to write about it, and during the years, I have so many ideas. Um, but I finally take the decision during this time. And since I had that idea, and the idea of what I want to do the book about, I think that okay, once that I start doing it, I know what I want, right? It was going to be, I mean, I will have to write, but it's going to take me time, but it's going to be no more complicated than that. It was not. It was really challenging. I get to periods of that I was completely blocked. That I was like, okay, what I say here, wow, is what I'm saying is true, and then I have to start reading a lot because I don't want to put in writing something that is not true, right? Or a concept that maybe I'm talking about remove the obsolete things, and maybe I have a concept that is now obsolete. So I have to stop and I have to read a lot. I read a lot during this process, a lot. I like reading, but I have to read a lot. And the other thing is that because I was working with the publishers there, and they have the editor, so they give me techniques on how to when I don't know what to continue, how to continue the book, like read loud. So it really helped me, because when I start reading it loud, the chapter that I'm working on it actually give me a different perspective of what I'm thinking, and those blocks disappear. So that was a technique that I definitely helped me, and I'm so grateful that they give it to me. So yeah, he was a roller coaster. It was times that I was just focused and writing. And it was times that I was like, I don't know, I was blocked.
You also talk about within your book about, biases in
Okay.
terms of decision making, and how challenging are those biases to overcome, and what can you do to kind of get over that?
Yeah. So if you think that our brain take less than a second to identify other person, race, gender, age. I'm hearing something. Are you okay? Okay. What I'm saying is that our brain takes only seconds to identify other person's race, gender, age, and that will give us a positive or a negative response. So our needs, our beliefs, our personal experience is what actually affect the process, and it's just in seconds. So if we are able to identify that, if we are able to actually acknowledge, okay, I have these biases, we can then work on it. So I think that that's the first step. That is, be aware that we have. So to be aware, we need to know what are the biases, identify them, and look, because you cannot correct something that you don't even know that you have, right? So that aware part, I think that is the most important, and it's the first step. Um, the other way that you can do this is like, okay, so you have this point of view. If you think about what happened if you decide to actually take the opposite direction of what your decision is, and you have to evaluate the data between where you have your initial position and the second one, and you can see if it's biased there, and definitely that will help you to take the best decision. So I always try to look at the two sides of the coin, and okay, if it's this from outside of the box, is this, or if I take this decision, and that will give you a different perspective, and definitely will let you see what are the biases that you can have at that moment.
Mm-hmm. So, with even thinking about that, what you're giving such good, tips and guidance and tools. What are some strategies or tips that you can give to, say, persons who, like you, are you released a book within the context during the time of pandemic. What about those persons who are, planning to launch, a business, during this time, or looking to launch a business, or persons who just, this is a big graduation weekend. Um, College graduations are going on this weekend and throughout, the month of May. Um, so a lot of, students will be graduating with undergraduate degrees in business and marketing, and all, from schools of business across the country. And they're looking to land that first corporate position. or
Mhm.
go into an, internship. So what are some tips you can provide for persons, 2 or 3 tips that you could provide for persons who may be doing
Yeah.
that? Yeah.
So my son is on those. He is graduating at the end of this month from college. I hope that he listen to this. So to me, the first and the most important thing is to find your passion and your purpose, because obviously you are better when you do what you like to do. And I think that people already past that time where we are like thinking, okay, I have to do this because this is what it gives me more money. And I think that the times change, uh, and that's a really good thing. Um, so find what you are passionate and find your purpose, what God wants you to do, right? Because that will allow you to give the best of yourself. So to me, that would be definitely the tip number one. That would be my first step. The second one, read my book. I actually, yeah, I share a lot of knowledge and experience that they can expedite the learning curve, right? I believe that it allows you to work better your vision, or the vision that you have for your company, or if you work for a large corporation, so you don't do simply a task. When you have a purpose, when you have a vision, when you have your own strategy, either if you are working in your company or if you are working for a company, your attitude will change if you have a purpose of doing that. And it's not now performing tasks every day, but it will be have a purpose, have a meaning for you. And the third one, I would say, do not be afraid of failures, because that's going to happen. Instead, if you look back and look at what lessons you can learn from there, so you don't have the same issues, or the same problems next time. Because you can the thing, or the key is not to have the same failures and learn from there. So definitely, if you look at the most successful people, they fail many times. They never get to where they are on the first try. So definitely do not be afraid of failures, and be able to just stand up and look at what happened as a lesson. And
All right. So for our viewers, live viewers, and replay viewers, remember those tips of following passion and pursuing purpose. You want to pick up this book, The Buoyant Business: How Simplicity Can Keep Your Organization Afloat in Today's Stormy Economy, because it's going to give you some tools and strategies specifically for those who are in business, or are launching a business, or thinking about business, or even going into corporate spaces, or who are forming organizations and are part of organizations and structures. So you definitely want to have this book in your toolkit to help you frame and support the work that you are doing. So definitely pick this up. And also that third step, which you definitely want to be mindful of, is not being afraid of failure. So we're not giving into fear, but we're giving into, falling forward, and falling forward to follow our purpose and our passion. So thank you for providing us those tips. Then, as you recommended those, tips for, the entrepreneurs, the persons in business, those kids who are looking for internships and they're landing that first corporate positions. What do you recommend to the businesses themselves, that are, trying to bring change within their organization? What is one thing that they can implement today that will help them to bring their desired change into their organization?
With mass connection, we establish like a really simple methodology, which I call mass methodology, and it's nothing new. It's something that has been there forever. That is, um, first analyze, microanalyze, really, and I have emphasis in this word microanalyze. Look deep, and that's one of the topics in my book. Look deep underwater on those processes, on those steps that your company do, um, that are you don't even know that they are there, but are the ones that are going to actually uh, kill your flexibility, and also uh, be a problem for you when you have disruption like this one. So micro analyze and look at all the changes that are the things that are obsolete, that are not applicable anymore, that we forgot about it because are always been there. I like to use the analogy of brushing your teeth. When you make a list of the things that you do, you're going to do next day. If any of you make a list, you never write brush my teeth. Why? Because it's something that is engage on you. It's something that you do. You don't need to write it about. So in that microanalysis phase, I always look for those processes, those brushing your teeth that you never even know that they are there, but you don't know that that's taking your time, that taking resources, and maybe you don't even need it. The second part, the second phase will be adapt. So it's implement the changes that you need once that you analyze that, and maybe remove those that you don't need anymore, um, or implement the new changes. And the third one is sustain, and is that's the part that is important, because you need to measure the changes. You need to have your KPIs, you need to have your metrics, you need to evaluate if what you implement and what you change is actually effective. And basically, if it's not, you just repeat it again. You microanalyze, you adapt, and you measure. So that's a circle that you have to keep, part of the continuous improvement that you have to use all the time. So that will be one of the things that I will suggest.
Okay, this is wonderful. Very good information. So definitely, I encourage our viewers, both who are watching live and who will catch the replay, that you pick up this book, because it's definitely going to help you streamline and simplify your processes within your organization, whether you're in the business sector, whether you're in like the nonprofit organizational sector, or
Yeah.
just like community organizers, and you're doing programming within your community, looking at those analytics and how to simplify those processes is going to be key to your effectiveness. So definitely pick up this book, The Buoyant Business, because that's going to give you some helpful, very helpful tools. So, Ms. Rozo-Angulo, can you tell us how our viewers and listeners can connect and follow you on social media, and how they can purchase your book?
So my book is in Amazon, and is paperback, or you have the Kindle edition as well, the ebook. And you can follow me in Instagram, Facebook, or in LinkedIn as Adriana Rozo-Angulo, all together.
All right. So thank you so much, Ms. Adriana Rozo-Angulo, spending time with us this afternoon. And we wish you continued success with this book, The Buoyant Business, How Simplicity Can Keep Your Organization Afloat in Today's Stormy Economy, and all the wonderful projects that you will have to come. We ask our viewing audience, live viewing audience, as well as those who will catch the replay, to make sure you're staying tuned to the PharSide Co-Ed Book Club Facebook page for more author interviews and posts as we celebrate May King Moves in May. Until next time, many roots, many voices are a part of the infinite story. So plant your seed and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Monica, for the invitation. It has been an honor to be in your podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.